Aries, this is your week ahead astrology forecast from Astrology Motivation by Born Without Boundaries Tarot. Here we are, and we're going to go over the major planetary aspects and transits for this week. So this is the week of April 13th through the 19th, and there's something really major happening, and it's 100% impacting you guys. So hang with me. All the major planetary aspects and transits and how they relate to your natal suns. So how do I know where your natal sun is located? I do not. You do, however. I know you do. So many of you, especially if you're watching an astrology reading, you are interested in astrology enough to know where your natal sun is located. Your natal sun is located on one of the 30 degrees within the zodiac sign of Aries. Aries occupies 30 degrees out of the total 360 degrees on the wheel. The wheel is a circle, so there's 360 degrees, right? And it's divided by 12 because there's 12 zodiac signs, right? So each zodiac sign occupies 30 degrees on the zodiac wheel, and your sun, because you were born in Aries, is sitting on one of those degrees. It's sitting on 0 to 29 degrees, and that's one of 30 degrees of Aries. So if your natal sun is located between 0 and 9 degrees Aries, you are in the first decan or group of 10 degrees of Aries. So I'm going to refer to you guys as Aries 1. If your natal sun is located somewhere between 10 and 19 degrees Aries, I'm going to call you guys Aries 2 because your natal sun is located somewhere in the second decan of Aries. And if your natal sun is located between 20 and 29 degrees Aries, I'm going to call you Aries 3 because your natal sun is located somewhere within the third decan of Aries. Now, I couldn't wait to start this video because when I started to read into what's happening this week, it is quite unique and special, and it will impact everybody. It won't just impact you, but oh my God, is it especially going to impact you. We're going to start really broad, you guys. We're going to start with the big things, and how they're going to impact everybody. And then we're going to go into the specific things that Aries should always watch for and look at and how they're going to impact you. And then I'll break it down into the decans to tell you exactly how this energy or these planets are going to be interacting using those angles, those measurements, and how they're going to be interacting with your natal suns and how that will impact you. And yes, you should watch the whole video, especially if you're not sure which decan you're in, or if your sun is located on the cusp of two decans. You will definitely pick up energies between the two. So it really behooves you, especially if you love astrology like I love astrology, to just learn about it and to listen to it. And then absolutely comment below as to maybe what you know or what you've heard or how this is impacting you. So the big thing that is happening between April 13th and 19th is this new moon in Aries. Now, what? We already had a new moon in Aries. Yes, we did. We had it at the very beginning of Aries season. And when two new moons occur in the same zodiac sign, not the same month, when two new moons occur in the same month, it's called the second of those two new moons is called a black moon. But when they occur in the same zodiac sign or the same season where the sun is, it's called a double moon. The second new moon is called a double moon. I'm sure you've heard of blue moons. That's referring to a full moon, and it's referring to the second full moon that has occurred in the same month. That doesn't mean that it's occurred in the same zodiac sign, because as you know, zodiac signs overlap months. So when we're talking about this new moon, it has occurred not in the same month, but in the same season, the same zodiac season. So it is once again conjuncting the sun in the same zodiac sign. And this is going to happen to us over in the northern hemisphere. It's early in the morning or late at night, like between like 11 and 12:30. Like 11:30 at night, 11 at night, and then 12:30 a.m. So we're not going to really see the impact of this, especially since it's really a southern hemisphere thing. And the thing that I'm talking about is not just this double new moon, but also the solar eclipse. And the sun has to be out to really see the solar eclipse. But it doesn't have to be out. Oh, I'm sorry. We keep it real here. It doesn't have to be out to feel the impact. Now, what's the spiritual impact of a solar eclipse? A change to the ego, a change to the self. Also, it's almost internal, a time to look inward and understand who you are, and especially confront the things that you've hidden. The fact that we have this solar eclipse on the new moon, and it's the double new moon in Aries. Twice now you guys have had new moons, and new moons represent what? New beginnings, a time for a new start. Based on, this is going to blow you away, because this new moon is not only a solar eclipse, and it's an annular and full solar eclipse. So for those in the southern hemisphere that are going to see the sun and the moon's interaction with the sun, part of the time they'll see this little ring, this little bright ring around this dark spot, which is what an annular is. It's the ring around the moon, because the moon isn't big enough to block out the whole sun. But then it'll go full all of a sudden, like not full moon, but the moon will be, because of the Earth's rotation, suddenly the moon will cover all of the sun, and then it'll go back to being this little circle around the sun again. So we actually get a full solar eclipse and an annular solar eclipse in the same solar eclipse, which I think is just going to be visually spectacular. So if anybody out there that lives in Australia or India wants to take some photographs of this stuff or a video, absolutely post it, and I would love to see it, because I think it's going to be so extraordinarily beautiful. And even though in the northern hemisphere it's all happening at night for us, so we're not going to be able to see it, and I don't think we would be able to see it. We're not able to see it. You're going to be able to feel it, especially if you're Aries. Now, if all that doesn't just like curl your toes and boggle your mind, this new moon is square to Pluto. Bitch, please. Like, why do I say that? Because Pluto is dynamic, extreme, and absolute no turning back change. Once it's destroyed something, it's fucking over. Like when Pluto comes in and knocks that shit down, it's like the shit never existed. This is metamorphosis. Like, that's what Pluto represents. That caterpillar into the butterfly. Butterfly will never go back to caterpillar. Ever. That's totally done. You won't even see signs of it. It looks different. It behaves different. It's different. You guys have really needed this, because while all this is happening, especially for a specific group of you, Chiron has been with you in Aries for quite some time. And Chiron is all about pain and suffering and not feeling good enough, or holding on to those old hurts and that old suffering, that old just almost feeling lame in some way, always feeling injured. We're going to get into the deeper astrology, but ultimately, this is really a chance, especially for you guys, especially for Aries, but really for all of us. This is why I started it off here. Really, for all of us, it is a chance to stop playing the victim, to get out of that feeling of we'll never be good enough and we'll never be able to rise, and absolutely see, yes, I can. Yes, I can. The past is done and over. Whoever I am now. A lot of times we consider an injury because we just haven't accepted our new selves. You know, I mean, take for an extreme somebody who's been made paraplegic. It's because they're always remembering themselves as the person who used to be able to walk. This would be the time when you say, and so they always feel at a loss. They always feel at a disadvantage. But this is the time when you say, fuck it. I never had legs. I was never meant to the whole time. And so that beginning state was my caterpillar phase, but it wasn't who I was meant to be. This is who I am meant to be. This is always who I was meant to be, and I am going to look at it from this perspective now. Not as somebody who's injured, wounded, or isn't as much as I used to be, but as the person who is everything that I need to be now, with nothing else, with no image or understanding or memory of what I was before to compare myself to. No, this is who I am. This is where I begin. And I begin from this position, which is my position. It is here. I am here, and it is not wrong. It is where I'm at. This is the time where we're able to accept that about ourselves. And now I'm not saying everybody's in a wheelchair, but I'm saying that all of those things that have made you feel ashamed of yourself, or made you feel lesser than, or made you feel like I just wasn't good enough, or I'm not living up to, or absolutely not. Your life doesn't look the way it used to. This is time to let go of those memories and take initiative to move forward with what you have in front of you, and not hating it or feeling like, oh, this is my consolation prize. It's not. This is your prize. Because guess what? You're still alive. And life is the biggest blessing of all. And this is when you realize it and start everything from the fresh perspective of not how it was or how it should be, but what it is and how beautiful it is, what's in front of me now. So, Mars, you guys always have to pay attention to what's going on with Mars, always, because it's your ruling dignitary. And Mars moves pretty quickly. So, things change for you guys pretty intensely. So let's talk about what's happening to Mars, because some interesting shit is happening to Mars. Mars is in Cancer. And in Cancer, Mars is extremely sensitive. It's also remembering what it was when it was a kid, or maybe what it wanted when it was a kid. So there is a catharsis of sorts that will happen because Mars is square to Chiron by the 17th, by Monday, and definitely during this new moon on the 19th, 20th, depending on where you are on the globe. 100% Mars is square to Chiron during this new moon. So it is basically being, you got to do something. You got to move. You got to move out of that feeling of sadness, out of that feeling of I'm injured and I don't want to be injured anymore. I want to assert myself and be who I am now without thinking of what I could have been, what I should have been, or how I messed up. Right? So that's basically, check this out. This is where the blessing is. And I always find the blessing hidden. Mars, while square to Chiron, is going to be sextile to Mercury, which is conjunct Uranus. And we're going to get into that because that's also a big one that affects everybody. Mercury conjunct Uranus is brilliant. There's nothing it can't figure out, which is why this is the perfect time for Mars to be square to Chiron, because this is when you realize something. And you also realize the way forward, because Uranus is all about innovation. Stop. Yes, sir. Yes. You see? This is a healing period for us. The other big thing that is happening, in addition to this new moon and the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, let's get a little bit more into that because it's going to impact everybody, Aries. Mercury-Uranus conjunction is brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it's like it's like something brilliant and innovative that's outside the realms of what we even thought possible, but geniuses can reach it because they understand math. That's Uranus. And then Mercury is the lower expression of Uranus, which is just intellect and day-to-day communications and practical ideas and thoughts and exchange of ideas and thoughts. It's the delivery system of the intellect. So when you have the two of them conjunct, it almost means like God is squeezing out something brilliant to distribute it to the general public. So I really, really love this energy. The fact that it's happening right at the new moon is, I think, when we realize those aspects of ourselves that we have to stop. They're wounding us. They constantly hurt us. We don't have to be hurt by them because we don't have to hold on to them. We can be over them. And that's just that life-saving grace of the Uranus-Mercury conjunction during this new moon. But we also have the Jupiter conjunct the sun. And that's happening in Aries. So we have to talk about it, especially with you guys. But it's going to impact everybody. It's happening in the third decan of Aries. So between 20 and 29 degrees. In fact, it's going to happen between 22 22 and 29 degrees Aries. So the sun starts out at 23 degrees Aries, and then by the end of this week we'll end at 29. And then Jupiter starts out at 22 degrees, and by the end of this week we'll end up at 23. So by the end of this week, it will not be a strong conjunction anymore, but it will be a strong conjunction most of this week. And what does that mean? Big-headedness? Thinking that we're worth more than we are, thinking way far ahead, thinking more of ourselves than we should, or thinking like we have to be bigger than we have to. But it could also give us a lot of courage and confidence. And so that side of the conjunction we should definitely use right now, because courage and confidence is definitely what we need to use to see ourselves in a way that we can love ourselves again. So let's get into the decans. I know this thing is running long, but it really has to. This one is very important for everybody, but especially for you guys. Aries ones, and this would definitely be Aries born in March. So late March birthdays, right? Your natal suns are going to be sextile Venus. Those of you who are born on the Pisces cusp, your natal suns are also, and will be for a while, conjunct to Neptune. So that's very creative energy and finding your faith. Finding your faith and creativity. But all of you are going to be sextile to Venus this week, and that's really nice because there's a sense of feeling good about yourself, finding love, and finding value. So that's very important. And that only lasts a week. The conjunction with Neptune for you Pisces cuspers, that's going to be for years. But the sextile to Venus is this week. You also have a sextile to Pluto if you are a cusper. If you are right on the Pisces cusp, so born right in the beginning of Aries season. So that will stay for a long time too, and that is wanting change, initiating change. That is definitely the butterfly coming out of the cocoon, and that will be a transcending experience for you, and it will be leveling up. Because you're doing this with confidence, you're prepared. Like the sextile is probably like the best aspect ever, because it's just about progress and moving forward. And essentially, this is what you're going to be experiencing. Like, finally, I can change because things around me are changing and they're making room for my wings. I love that energy for you guys. But this week in particular, it's that Venus sextile, which is just going to bring love. That's a good time to like change your hairstyle, change up the color of your house. It's a good time to go dating. It's a good time to be extra romantic. It's also a good time for sort of financial investments, kind of the luck of the draw when it comes to things like that. So if you have especially a big ticket item that you're looking at, buying a house, buying a car, making an investment or something, like this is a good week to look at it because you will find a lot of opportunities there. All right. Y'all who are Aries too. Your natal suns are conjunct to Chiron, as they have been. And it has actually been more intense for you like a month ago because everything was sitting right on top of Chiron. And you've been dealing with Chiron there for a while, and you will for a little while more. But ultimately, the sun conjunct Chiron is when we find purpose in the pain that we've been through. We find a reason, not why we went through it, but what can I do with it now? I'm not just going to sit here. It's going to motivate me. So you guys have been experiencing that for a while. This week, your natal suns are square to Mars most of the week. Now that means impetuous behavior, maybe a risk of injury, but also, popping off, like wanting to move too quickly. So the challenge for you guys will be to slow yourself down and find faith. That you don't have to prove yourself and that you are good enough. And if you can find that square to Mars will actually release wonderful energy. And you'll find almost like a stardust path that's guiding you in the right direction to put your energy. Instead of the wrong direction, just to like put it somewhere to feel like you're doing something. And that could get you re-injured. And that's not what you want. So be very, very, very particularly careful. Aries 3s. You guys are the ones experiencing the new moon conjunct your natal suns. Okay, the new moon is going to happen, I think, at 25 degrees Aries, when the sun is about 28, 29 degrees Aries, and Jupiter is about 3 degrees Aries. So there's a huge conjunction. The conjunction is still happening, including that moon. And I believe it was happening with Jupiter in the beginning of this season as well. So Jupiter is, no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. But Jupiter is a major player here, because it's going to expand and push. It's all about expansion and pushing forward. And it's all about opportunity to finally shed this pain and this suffering and actually definitely 150,000% start new. Okay? Your natal suns, if you're born at the very, very end of Aries season, so that's Aries, Taurus, cuspers, are sextile to Saturn, which means you will find that this energy clears space, clears a path, and this is when you're really going to get some major career opportunities. Oh, yeah. Your natal suns are square to Pluto, which the new moon is square to Pluto. So expect huge change that there's no way you're going to come back from. No way. And let Pluto take the wheel, because if you try to resist, you'll get hurt. So major change. You're also conjunct the North Node and opposite the South Node if you're at the very end of Aries season, which means it is definitely time when, in other words, opposition to the South Node. I'm uncomfortable with the South. I'm uncomfortable with where I came from. And my comfort zone is no longer my comfort zone. I'm done with the shit. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm conjunct the North Node. I want the North Node. I want my future. This is where you get your future. Aries 3s, this is where you get your future. This is where it moves forward. This is where it pops off. This is where you find the progress. This is where you find the opportunity. And this is where you say yes and let go of what you expected beforehand and accept that you're blessed right now with what's in front of you. I'll tell you that right now. This is huge. This is really, really beautifully, beautifully huge. So do me a favor, please. Share this reading with everybody that you know, because this is a powerful time. And this is a powerful moment this year. I'm going to say this, and other astrologers could disagree. I think this is one of the most powerful moments that we're going to experience this year, where there is complete and total catharsis with our experiences as human beings. And now we can actually move forward with a full acceptance that the future is a blessing. You let me know in the comments below, and please do come over to watch my weekly tarot card reading for Aries over on Born Without Boundaries Tarot. Subscribe to this channel, please, so that you can participate when I go live over here. You can participate in the chit chats, and you'll also get all those notifications of when I upload your favorite content. I love you guys, and I will expect a full report next week when all of this is over. Let's see how it turns out. See you next week.